So this is today's straight no chaser advice question. And the demographic information. This person is in a leadership role, which means they develop vision, mission, core values. They're in business sector is management of other companies and entities. The organization size is more than 10K, 10,000. They're a hybrid, which means they have in office and remote. The question is about offboarding and it's about termination specifically. So the question is, with all the layoffs happening, folks are also noticing that a lot of those same companies doing layoffs have a lot of open roles. So Square is an example. As a leadership in rest, so this is a person who's taking a sabbatical. I remember when considering targeted layoffs, always having to close the position post laying off the person during the role. That is, HR would not go for laying off someone if what I really wanted to do was fire them for either poor performance or for performance not in line with new expectations. I had to do the work of an actual concrete achievable PIP or documenting and coaching towards those new expectations. I'm on the outside looking in, but it sure does feel like organizations are using this new trend in AI and our pressure from the streets to show short-term reductions in headcount expenditures as an excuse to not do the work of leadership. I know that work is not fun work, but how would you advise a leader to fight against this trend of laying off a bunch of folks and then reposting their roles for hire? It seems like a political minefield, but a necessary skill for leaders to develop to build a free future. Huh. Okay. The landscape has changed a lot since this question because I told you I got this question. I put this project on the back burner at the end of 2023. So the landscape has drastically changed in 2025. And we're seeing way more what I would consider unethical behavior when it comes to hiring and terminating, particularly termination. And it's particularly in this climate, it's really hard to answer this question in a way that's satisfactory, seeing that so many of the terminations that happen, in particularly with the government, there appears to be no rhyme or reason. There is nothing about a PIP. Everything that this person states in this question has been abandoned, has been thrown away, has been subverted. When you can at mass just fire thousands of people for no reason, then that you just decide with no data that you want to cut costs, it's very hard to try to get to a supremacy free, coercion free, discrimination free, and exploitation free experience as a leader within any organization, particularly in government when those jobs were considered safe. Like government jobs were considered freaking safe. And at this point, okay, I'll do before this new administration came in and companies started not only capitulating but copying this behavior. I would say that leaders in the role, because this is a person who develops vision, mission, and core values, probably a management role and not a C-suite role, because the C-suite role would have more insight into this, and they are typically the ones who are impacting the person who's in this role of having to fire or hire somebody. So with that, in before this administration, it would be I would look at HR policies, right? And not only that, but historical data within the organization, historical data within the industry, to have a conversation with those individuals who are making these decisions for a case of this is not best practices. This would come back and bite us in the butt. That was what I would do before. I would have as much data as you can, internal and external data, to show, and doing so may even prove their point. Who knows? But you have I say because you probably have an idea that what they're requesting is not something that is ideal. But that was before. I would take all that data and I would sit down and have a conversation with those people who make those decisions. And let's have a conversation about where you see value in this behavior and where is this behavior detrimental to our overall goal of being innovative, competitive, and profitable? Because you always got to go back innovative, competitive, and profitable. Now, 2025, that's hard because at this point, and this is another reason why it's been so hard for me to come out and have these conversations, because it's like the foundation is gone. I knew the foundation had to go. I didn't realize the foundation would just disintegrate like this, and I didn't realize that the people who had to, because this had to be this stuff had to happen. People who created it are the only people who could destroy it. I didn't know they would be this inept, this chaotic, and this much expediency in it. There is no care in any of this. And so having this kind of conversation now seems, depending on the company you're in, but if they've already been behaving this way, having this conversation now when it seems that everybody has a green light to treat employees this way would be harmful. And I would caution, if you're not ready to take that hit of being retaliated against, at this point, what the best you could do is protect the people who report to you and keep them abreast, even if you're supposed to be quiet, keep them abreast of what's happening, share with as much information as you can so that they're prepared for whatever. That's all we can do right now. This climate right now is all about, and you're seeing it with Black women. This climate right now is all about protection and saving energy to fight another day. Because if we spin out right now, we won't have the energy, we won't have the resources, we won't have the people to help us rebuild. Right now, it's just to protect as many people as we can until these people burn the fuck out. And when our folks are impacted, then do what you can to tap your networks to see if they can get new jobs. If you see something coming down the pike, start reaching out to people that, even if they don't know yet, hey, I have this person and something's about to happen. Can I send them your way if this thing happens? That's the best we can do right now, because that is where we are. Nothing about right now is sure. Everything is so freaking chaotic that, it's a lot. It's a freaking lot. And before, in 2023, I would tell people to stand on it. To particular people with the most privilege in organizations, it was your time to use that privilege for the people in your organization who didn't have as much privilege, who were more vulnerable. But right now, the best we can do is we got to wait this out, because it hasn't even been 100 days and I don't even know what the hell's going on. Every day something changes. So we need as many people in these spaces as possible. So right now it's about just keeping your head down, doing your work, and protecting those people who report to you, who are more vulnerable and most vulnerable in your organization, as much as you can. And when you see something going left, tap your network, tap your resources to at least help them land on their feet, so it's not such a jarring exit. That's the best we could do right now, because that is where the chaos is. Everything is just, yeah, I have nothing else for that. I have nothing else for that, because everything is just so wild. Everything is just unnecessary. No, I'll take that back, because I've been saying for a while that we can never get where we need to go until the most privileged are harmed. Right now, the very privileged, they don't understand that they are creating their own demise, because they have to do it. We cannot. The most vulnerable cannot take them down. They have to take themselves down, take themselves out of the game. And it's happening. They don't see it, but what they're doing right now is exposing things that they've been lying about. Everything is out. Everything needs to be exposed. We need to be transparent so that when we rebuild, we don't replicate the harm that's already there. Because without that, people still think, oh, that just happened. No, it didn't just happen. These things are happening by design. And even if you didn't have a hand in the design, the most privileged are benefiting from that, and they know how to manipulate and use that design for their benefit in their best interest.